and I think this is so critical. And I experience this, you know, on a personal level as well. As I think for those of us, you know, that are married, I'm not, but you know, hopefully eventually will be again. I think it's critical. You have to let your spouse follow their passions, right? You have to. Now, obviously within reason. And I think you've set good boundaries to that and done it in a really smart way. That doesn't mean, oh, I love hunting, so I can just be gone all year chasing my passion. There is, of course, needs to be balance to it. But I've seen situations where that doesn't happen. And I don't think that's sustainable in a relationship. And I think it builds to a lot of resentment. So whatever she wants to go do or he wants to go do, like, you have to embrace that. And I think, you know, early on in the relationship, there needs to be that acknowledgement, right? And you got to know, you know, you're on the same page. And, you know, I experienced that, you know, going into the military. You know, Mal and I were married, and I kind of was like, hey, like, I have to go do this crazy dream that I've been thinking about since 9/11. You know, I felt guilty that there were grown men my age that were fighting on my behalf overseas, and I'm sitting in an air-conditioned house in Indiana living a really easy life. And I ultimately had to be like, hey, like, take 24 hours, but like, I'm doing this. I know our families, neither of us them want me to do it, and it's dangerous, and I'm going to be gone a lot, and I know it's going to put stress on the marriage, but like, I just have to fucking do it. And, you know, ultimately we made that joint decision that, like, okay, that we're doing this thing. Right. But it was a hard conversation. And ultimately, no, we're not together anymore. And you could argue that a lot of me, you know, being on 300 days out of the year while also running a business with her together, you know, had its effects. So not to say it was the right decision, but at least we were on the same page of like, all right, you maniac, if you're going to go do this, like, I support you. And I think it's so cool that you get that kind of free pass to go do that, of course, with parameters. And I just think it's a good lesson, because I know I've learned that now, that like, you know, when I become married again, whatever their passion is, like, I'm all in on supporting that, because I've been on the other side of it. I know how critical it is. Even when you have to sacrifice, like, maybe you got to hold it down at the house for a month, or they got to do their business trips, or whatever it is they're chasing, you got to let them do it. So yeah, I don't know. If you got any additional comments on that, Dan, and then I was going to shift to a little bit of business talk, but.
No, you guys both bring up some great points. I think reflection is healthy. Like, I got to agree with you, Tony, no matter how you try to go at it. But it is a tough deal in this world to pause, to find a place to pause and be still. And I know the best practices that I get out of the good word is, there was a guy who would definitely separate himself, go to the highest place, and just be still, be quiet. And I know that that's in our DNA. We need that. And then setting a precedent, like you said, Bear, like, initially with my wife, I dated her. I was at that point filming hunts for a living, running a gym, and hunting myself. And I know our first year of dating, I was gone, not 300 days, but like from September to the end of November, I think I might've been home maybe a day or two while we were dating. And so don't pull any punches. If you have a candidate to marry, you know, be who you are, because the last thing you want to do is get married and then, okay, now we're married, I want to change you. That will not work. Like, and so that was a beautiful thing about my wife, is that she's never wanted to change me. She knew what she was getting. I didn't put out a facade. I wasn't fronting just to impress her. I was a mountain man, and that's what she was getting. And that's really important. And I encourage the younger guys and gals listening to, before they go down that road, is, you know, set a precedent.
Yeah, we always had the rule, you know, in our community, that if you meet a girl, go through one deployment and training cycle together to make sure they're cut out for that. You know, and if they're good to go when you get back, then she's probably a keeper. But if she's like, you know, who is this maniac? He's gone, you know, every month, running around the woods, shooting belt-fed machine guns and, you know, jumping out of planes and stuff. And then you gone for 6 months on deployment. It's a lot of times that shows real quick. So I totally agree. You gotta be you. And, if that's you, you know, don't hide it, because it'll come out in the wash eventually.